Hey, it's Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit, and today we're going to talk about how to get the ambient weather integration into Home Assistant. Now, these are what the ambient weather devices look like. I have this one here, the $169 one that's been on sale. There's a number of these. Now, the thing is, I'm going to show you how to get these integrated, but I'll also show you a way to integrate them if you don't have the hardware, because what happens is people can expose their ambient weather stations locally, and you can just as easily pull those into Home Assistant. Now for Home Assistant, there's going to be two dashboards that we'll build. This one here is the one that you would have if you don't have the hardware or if you just want the data available. Now this is a really nice dashboard. There's going to be a ton of information here. And if you click up here on charts and graphs, you get even basically the historical data all charted out for you. So we'll show you how to do that today. It's very, very simple. The other thing we're going to do is we're actually going to use Lovelace. So if you do have a weather station and you want to pull it in, then you actually get the ability to do automations based on it. You get all the entities and so on. And I'll show you how to build this dashboard out, which is using not only the ambient weather data, but using information from windy.com and a number of other sources to pull in stuff like air quality data. We're using a custom compass here for the wind speed, and I'll show you how to pull all this together. Again, nothing difficult, but just kind of walking through it sometimes helps. Now, the first thing to do is if you want to pull in ambient weather and you don't have the hardware, you can go to ambientweather.net and you can look for a public hardware, basically exposed device that's near your house. So what I'm going to do is pretend I live in Las Vegas, and you can see all of these dots are people that are actually sharing their weather info. If I click on any of these, I can see what that weather station is pulling in. You can see there's a little bit of variance, so I can find something that's close to me. Now, one thing that's kind of fun is if you click over on webcams, you can find people that actually have webcams as well, which means they probably have a little bit nicer one. If you're going to take somebody else's data, you can take something close or something nice. So let's see here. This one here, Dave's weather station, if I click on it, there's basically his weather camera. And if I click on view dashboard, here's his dashboard. Now he's actually got the air quality index in here, which is really nice. He's got the rainfall, but he's in Las Vegas, so he's not seeing that. And I've basically got a dashboard that I wanted to take a hold of. So what I'm going to do is copy this URL here. Going over to Home Assistant, we're just going to create a new tab. Now it's going to be very simple. Call this Weather's Dave. If you watch the Waze tutorial, we're going to put this in panel mode. If you watch the Waze tutorial, you know this trick. By putting it in panel mode, this makes this a full page, which means that when I add a web page and put his URL in there, boom, we're done. There is Dave's weather station. So now we've got all of the data. Now this is super cool. This is great for a dashboard. If I have a home dashboard panel and I want to get access to all this data, it's a very easy way to get it. And he's got everything from solar radiation, UV index, very, very cool. The other cool thing about this is I can actually zoom around on the map and see different things. So the thing is fully interactive. I can also click on charts and get the charts like I showed. You can also do the filtering and so on. So there's quite a bit here that you can add and remove. Lots of customization, lots of stuff to geek out on. But what if you want to actually pull from an ambient weather station? What if you actually own one of these and you want to pull that data in? Well, how do we do that? The good news is it's very, very simple. Okay, so to actually pull your keys right now, you're going to want to go to your ambient weather account and you'll click on your username and you'll end up with this view here with your dashboard and everything. Click API key here to create an API key. It'll be behind where this video is, and then click down here to create an application key. It will also be in the same list, but it'll say application key next to it. And you're going to need one of each. You'll need the API and the application key for the next step. Okay, back in Home Assistant, you're going to go to configuration and then integrations. And if you don't have it, you're going to click here and click ambient weather. There you'll see ambient weather station. You're going to want that. And now you're going to put your API and application key in here. If everything is successful, it will pop up. Okay, once you've got these entered, you should have an ambient weather thing pop up here. You'll see one device and your entities. Now, your entities, if you click through them, you should see a whole bunch of your entities, and your station will pop up with the name of your station at the beginning of all of them. We'll talk about how to change that later. But for now, this is really what you want to do. Now, if you want to double check on anything, of course, you can click on the entity and you can kind of get a view of, do the values look correct? So actually, let's go to feels like, and you'll see you actually should start seeing your charts and your weather and everything come in. If that's all looking good, then you are ready for your next step. Now, the way I built this panel out is I kind of gathered together a couple of different things. We'll talk about this one here, but this is basically all the temperatures. Now, it actually pulls inside and outside temperatures from the ambient weather, but I also pulled it from a couple other sensors I had. The rain status is where I started, so let's do that. And basically what we're gonna do is get all of our rain sensors into one entity card here, and then we'll show you how to add a header. So let's talk about, basically we're gonna build this dashboard out, and I'll go a little bit slow on this one. So we'll say weather 2 as a sample. Do not do panel mode on this, and we're just gonna create it, and then we'll just go from the beginning. So you can go by entity, but for this one, we're gonna wanna have an entities card. I'm gonna click here, and I'll erase out these 3. And we're gonna just call this one rain. Now, the way I did this to be really fast is if you type rain here, you'll see everything pop up, and you can just keep doing that. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you get everything added. Now, one thing that you're gonna notice here is this is daily, and then I've got hourly and so on. So if you wanna rearrange these, you can just drag and drop these, and that will put them in order. So once you have these all ordered, then it should look something like this. Now, if you want these to look a little bit cleaner, what you can do is you can click on any of these entities, click on settings, and you can rename these. I like keeping the station name at the beginning because it makes it super handy when you're searching for anything on these to just search for your station and filter your entities by that. If I name this just last rain, then if I want to get all of the entities off of Epcot station, which is what my weather station's named, that's a little bit more difficult. There we go. That's our rain one here. Now, how did we get the picture at the top? Well, there's a cool trick here. We now have headers, and we can click on headers and do a graph if you want to do graph of rain or buttons or whatever. I basically did a picture. Now, how do we get this picture? Well, first thing I did is I just grabbed a picture off the internet and I uploaded it to Imager.com. When you basically have that uploaded here, you can click on the picture and then right click and say copy image address. You want the image address of this right here. Don't use any of these because these are the Imager links to get you the Imager page. You want the actual page here of the file they're hosting. Now what I can do is paste that URL in, and now I've got this nice little header file here, and that just gives it a little bit of style. Again, it could be anything you want for that upper part there, but it gives it just a little bit more flair. It looks a little bit nicer. Now keep in mind I'm in edit mode, so when you take out edit mode, it cleans up everything around it. It looks really, really nice, I think. So let's talk about these windy, basically these little things here. These are really handy. I was looking for something that we could embed that would give me a bit more of a satellite view of an area. And so let's talk about that. So here's windy.com, and windy.com is really powerful. I mean, it's got a million settings over here. So what you're going to want to do is zoom into an area that you care about, wherever it ends up being. Springfield, like the Simpsons Springfield. Perfect. Okay, and now over here you can pick all sorts of different things. You can pick air quality, whatever matters to you. And keep in mind you can do more than one of these maps, so you don't have to actually lock down on one of these. So maybe it's temperature, maybe it's humidity, whatever you want. And you'll see that these are all changing as I'm clicking on these. Maybe I want to do a radar or satellite view and so on. Once you have that, click on the hamburger icon over here, this triple dash, and go to embed widget on a page. Now you can change some of your sizes and basically tweak this a little bit, basically get it to where you want it. And once you have it there, you're going to see this right here, this iframe. We're going to copy that clipboard, and we're just going to paste that into a notepad file just to use this as a scratch page. Go over to the source equals, this src equals, and take it from that H there. So we want to get the quote and all that. We don't need any of this. Now we want to go to the end. And the end is going to be, in this case, it's default radar range equals -1. Get rid of everything after that. That's it. That's what you want. You're going to copy that. So I just hit Control-C. And for this here, we're just going to say edit dashboard, and we're going to add a card. That's going to be a web page. We'll paste that in. There we go. Beautiful. I like it. Now, what's really cool about this is all of those filters still work. So it's kind of handy. I can click on that. I can zoom in and out and so on. I'm using the scroll wheel there. But now I have a nice animated map of what's going on, and my dashboard's looking a little bit nicer. Okay, so that shows you how to get these two. How to get this one here. Oh, also wind, very similar. I added the two winds, but we need to add this portion here. So let's add the wind one next. We'll go back here, and we're going to edit the dashboard. We're going to add a card. We're going to do what's called a vertical stack. And what this does is allows us to have two cards on top of each other. So one of them is going to be that entities card. We're going to do what we did before. Now, again, if I search for wind, I get all of the wind stuff here. The actual speed we're going to put into a compass, so we can just do the gust. That will be the main thing we want here. Now this little compass thing is actually a custom integration from the Home Assistant community store. I showed that in one of my tutorials. So, okay, let's talk about how to get that custom compass integration. We're going to click on HACS here. If this doesn't load for you for any reason, hit Shift F5, basically try to force a cache refresh. And then what you're going to want to do is go to front end. Then you can go to Explore and type in compass. You should get one thing. Oh, I already have the repository added. So for me, it's in here. So I will search here. And there it is. You'll get a compass card. This is what you want. Once you have that added, then you've got basically the ability to get that going. We'll go back to our overview and then we'll go to our weather panel. We're going to edit this here. Go to our vertical stack. Now the way the vertical stack works, we've got our first one here. So what we're going to do is say add to add a second thing. And now we can start compass and the compass card will show up. There's that custom compass card. So we can call this wind. If we want, you have to give it a name because this is all going to be under wind anyway. And then we're going to give it the entity. I'm going to say look for it. Now you can't search on this one. You're going to have to actually find it. And here's sensor Epcot station. It's going to be under sensor. And there we go. We want wind direction. And look, it filled it out. It's got southeast and the arrow's going where I want it. Secondary, I'm going to put the wind speed here. Remember, this is why I was saying you don't need it up above. There's max gust. We can add that. So there's wind speed. There we go. Okay, so now we've got our wind speed and our direction. And then we'll click save. And now we've got our wind set up. So one thing we can add real quick is up here, we can add the max gust. If I search for max, it pops up. And there we go. So we've got our max gust here and our wind gust. And now that's all of our wind data in one thing. Okay, let's go back to our original dashboard here and see what's missing. So we know how to do our rain status. Our wind setup is here with the gusts and so on. We also have these. This is another image header similar to this one. I just found one for wind. So the next thing we're going to do, we'll just add this in. This should be an easy one. So we'll add a card and we'll just search for weather forecast. Boom, there's a weather forecast. And what's cool about this card is if you click on it, you'll actually get quite a bit more weather available, humidity, and so on. So very, very handy card to have just in general. Now I like this one because while we're getting the ambient weather data, we're getting all the local stuff. This gives us a week forecast out. Now we're getting close. There's two more things I want to add. Now, the main thing is this right here, but you'll notice this one right here is actually the air quality, and that involves a separate integration. So let's get into that right now. The World Air Quality Index, this is the actual integration we're going to add, and we're going to have to add this into our YAML setup right here. It does take an API token, so what you're going to want to do is go to this website here, and this platform, you give it an email address and a name, and they'll give you basically a token ID that you can put in your YAML. I've jumped over to File Editor, and I'm showing you just the part of the YAML here. The API token, I'm using Bang Secret, and I've actually put that in secrets.yaml under WAQI API key, so that way it's protected. The platform's WAQI. Now, if you have no sensors, then this dash would be up here at the top, and you'd have sensor colon. But if you have multiple sensors, like if you followed my Waze tutorial or whatever, then you're going to add a dash, and this is what's called an array. It's multiple items that are under this one sensor node. So that's how you append it. If you already have a sensor node, you can't add a second one to YAML. Okay, so once you have this right here, you can add locations. What I did for this. Now the way you get these locations is interesting, and the way this basically integration works is kind of interesting. And I want to take a second to explain it. When you put a search in here and you say, I don't know, let's say Las Vegas again. So if I say Las Vegas, you actually see multiple locations show up here. And typically the locations will have multiple areas for that location. So when I put into my YAML, if I put Las Vegas and I'm putting Seattle to get stuff local to me, it will actually pull air quality for all of the areas around there. So if you don't see your city listed in the air quality index, put something that's close by, and it will get you basically all of the settings that you would expect. Now remember, because we're editing YAML, you're going to want to go to configuration, and then you'll want to go to the server controls, and then you're going to want to hit check, and you're going to want to hit restart. And what that'll do is basically restart the server and read the YAML and then bring that configuration in so that it's available for you. Now, when you come back, go ahead and go to Developer Tools, search for WAQI, and note what happens here. You're going to have a bunch of things show up. So here's what I was talking about and why I brought that up, because it was very confusing to me of understanding how do I get the air quality near me. Well, I put Seattle in, so Queen Anne, Olive Street, these are all areas around Seattle. I also put Las Vegas in, and all of these showed up too. So I have like, I don't know, 10 or 15 different air quality sensors and measurements that I have access to. You don't get access for just your city, you get everything around it, which is really cool. The other thing I want to mention that's really important is we're going to get a number back from this air quality, and it's important to understand what does that even mean. So this chart here basically lays it out for you. 0 to 50 is considered good. I think ours is right now for where I'm living at 23. I'm very thankful for that. But understanding, okay, here's moderate unhealthy. This is going to become important too, because what you can do is actually color the sensor or color the UI based on where the air quality is. So that way you have indicators. So let's build that card out. We're going to use the grid card, which is just an awesome card. I'm so glad they added this. And now I did gauges. You can do whatever UI you want. I liked gauges. I thought they were really cool. And I got lucky. It actually picked the Olive Street Seattle one here, but you can see the air quality index right there is 9 right now, which is phenomenal. Okay, so how do we actually get this to color based on how good or bad it is? Well, we'll say defines the severity, and we'll say 0 to, let's say 150 is green, and 150 to 300 is red. And there you can see it's set to green. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add more gauges. I liked adding gauges all the way across this card to just keep it consistent. And then what I did here is I typed temp and I found out all the temperature data I had coming in. The ambient weather gives you an inside and an outside temperature. So I actually used that one for an inside temp. And if you give it a friendly name here, it will just be a lot cleaner. You see that shows up as inside temp. For this one here, this air quality, I can just say, you just say air quality here. There you go. So now the air quality shows up, inside temperature shows up, and this starts building out to be a lot cleaner. Okay, so what you can see now is I've actually built out that 6-panel grid, and I added inside temperature, outside temperature, and so on. I just hit the plus sign to build these out, and then each one of these I defined a different entity and a different name. I didn't do basically the severities on these. You can if you want. It's all up to you. This is basically you building out your dashboard. But then you get this nice little gauge cluster, which I thought was really fancy. Now, this being said, this UI might be a bit busy. And if this UI is busy, one thing that you can do to really simplify it is take all of these values and just add them to this list here. Instead of making this a rain list, this can have all of your values, and that's another way of doing it. It would be amiss of me to not take a second to talk about design, since we're basically designing a dashboard here. What I want to really relay is I'm showing you how to put together different elements of this dashboard, but that doesn't mean this is the right way or the only way or even a great way to do it. The right way to do this dashboard is going to be the way that works best for you. For me, I love science fiction and I love these like really complicated looking dashboards, so I fit as many different gauges and UI elements as I could in. I made this tutorial to teach you the variations so that you can kind of pick and choose what works for you. But really, if you want a simple design, you could just as easily take this list here and have all the data in the list, and that may work just as well for you. You may not care about wind where you live, or you may absolutely depend on the wind where you live. You may not care about rain. I do because I have a garden, so I'm caring about rain. You may care more about UV and solar type things, and you want to have those in your dashboard. So you really should design this to be what you need. And that's probably the best way to put this together, honestly. All right, I want to thank you for watching and hope this was another useful tutorial for you. This is my finished dashboard for now. I'll probably keep it like this for a while. And I'll probably delete this one here, but this is something I just wanted to show you. I just thought it was interesting, just the power and how easy this one was to put together. And it does have quite a bit of info on it for very little work. But for me, honestly, I wanted to have access to all of the entities so I can actually start thinking about automations for this, especially around my gardening and an automated watering system that I'm starting to brainstorm. So understanding when it last rained and how much it rained is very interesting to me, which is funny because I live in Washington. All right, so that's all I have to say for this dashboard. This should show you how to get to this point here, and also probably hopefully teach you some cool stuff for other cards and so on. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a like. That really helps me. Some people have asked me, how do I help you with your channel? Just share the videos. I don't need any money or anything. Just share the videos. Let other people know I exist. That really is the best thing you can do for me. I'm here to help people, and that's why I put so much time into my comment reading and comment responses, is because that's important to me, to help you out. So thanks for that. Thank you for the support. Thanks for the kind words. And thanks for the great response to the Waze video. That's what actually directly led me to make this video. I hadn't planned on making this one for a while, but that Waze video showed me. You guys like dashboards. You like understanding how to put this stuff together. So here you go. I want you to have a great week, and I will talk to you in the next video. Until then, have a great one. I'm Joe Farrow, Geek Toolkit. Thanks.